Hey everyone, this is me, Mohsin Leo, and what I'm trying to do is to actually talk about things that I say keep me up at night as a teenager, and the things elaborate a bit about the things that I name it as neoliberal order and how mm, uh, the failing of neoliberal order and why I think that way. That we should realize that this social system, economic system that we have created is not working for us in America, and neither in the Britain or in Europe, or neither working abroad for the world. And looking at it from the perspective um, of a person trying to uh, uh, understand and come to the solution of what could be done about it. And first of all, I will generalize it by saying that uh, I will use general terms, not to go to the actual precise word context, but more generalizing. I will try to say that first of all, we have a huge number of 2 billion people that have stagnant growth, and that is extremely despairing, and that is extremely painful. And I mean, they have stagnant growth. Forget about their mind and mental growth. Then you have more generally the upper 4 billion people that are trying to make a living. That are trying to make a living. Somehow get themselves to have the calories within the day in 9 hours. And those people are mostly residing within the developing countries, third world, or mostly Latin Americas. And then you have the 1 billion people that are having um, I am putting it much more generally, and it would have been much better if I could have be more precise, but I am putting it more generally. So then you have on the top, which I'm going from the bottom up, so you have the 2 billion with stagnant, or the 4 billion with hardly making a living, and you have the 1 billion with having the 9 to 5 job. This 1 billion you have the 9 to 5 jobs with extreme amount of workload and psychological pain and depression. And then you have a few millions left, which were the 7 billion. And then you have groups in that which have more corporate influence, corporate power, more the CEOs, top of our CEOs with underneath them you have some major shareholder board members, and you have then you have them having much more control, much more power, much more freedom, much more influence and social economic achievement and success. And then you have on top of them a very tiny minority elite, which is actually making having a very concentrated amount of they are having a very concentrated amount of power. They are having a very concentrated amount of resources and a very uh, large amount of influence over the whole bottom up group. Now they are making they are a number very tiny minority, but they're actually making this system most of the influence in this system that we have inherited, and now we will pass it to our grandchildren, and this is a very depressing system. And now looking at from the perspective of it is globally and internationally, not going to nationally, how it is working within the United States and how it is growing, the middle class are suffering, the middle lower classes. And I earlier said that I'm putting it generally, so the classes that I mentioned, in no way I'm trying to say that we have literally classes. I already mentioned it's not in the general sense, but it's not in the literal sense, it is general. So the looking at it internationally now, and looking at it internationally in the sense that how it is going out internationally is international policy within countries or within the world. And internationally, when we look at it, we have major significant things, starting from let's take Northern Ireland to Southern Ireland. You have Britain getting out 2019 today, and it's 2019 December, and you have Britain trying to get Brexit, and you have the Northern Ireland country starting with Thatcher administration, or Thatcher, whatever way she recognized solution for, and now you have no find solution for both sides with a huge amount of disparity. And this neoliberal order, which had promises for the British people, for the Irish people, for the European Union, is in no way going to able to provide them. And because of having the neoliberal order having the influence, now it might work for them, but it's not going to work for these people. Which I mean, British people, British civilians, or British, Irish, or European people, even in Europe. And then you look at, let's say, now we don't have our hands dirted in Cold War right now in Vietnam, but we have now issues in the Middle East, and much more generally Bush administration saying that we have we want to wage war against tyrannic violent in person, which they try to justify by manufacturing and misleading the consent of people at home, and or somehow creating some fear or some hope, something to get their consent, or without their consent go to do the activity which is in no way war, is in no way for the service for the public, and actually doing it. And then the actual reason behind why they are in the Middle East is resources for the elite, and they are justifying it with some very non-justifiable reasons. And then a bit further, and a bit further in history too, we have a very concentrated, very immense tension between Israel and Palestine. And Israel-Palestine conflict in such a way that you, taking from 1940, you can in no way take side. After Balfour Declaration, you have Israel having the authority to have a role, to have a body, to exist. You can in no way. This is so much emotionally being ingrained and connected for all on both sides, that you can in no way undermine anyone's side. So you have this now on one side someone from Republican or Democrats, and on the right are someone trying to immensely force from the one side to part on one side is never going to work out in any way. You may solve the immediate consequences of having violence from one side, some one group called radicals for you, but you are going to create a very long-term catastrophic whole system of disorder. And in the same way, if we look in Latin America, they have issues for much less the ideological neoliberal order, and the imperial force is going to the Middle East, but somehow someone in the administration is trying to justify it with saying that it is for the people, but it's not. And then that same neoliberal order we have received now for us, and now looking at it as a perspective from living underneath it, and you have somehow made the people to believe that you have to have a level of consumption and this certain amount of consumption that you have to keep up with. And this whole identity culture of consumption is created by them, and they are in no way um, living, and a very large number of them are suffering immensely, being in despair. And at the side you have much more things like natural changes in the level of sea, changes in temperature, and you can address it with your natural resources, inherent resources, and the earth you have. But due to the elite and the immense concentrated will of a few people imposed on majority, you have um, you have this whole disorder where you have natural uh, struggle going on, along challenges coming on, alongside with people facing, people having um, pain. Pain is a very vague word, but having disparity, being in this extreme amounts of disparity and un- unsettledness, and you are, and now how I don't know how you're going to make it work on now I don't know how you're going to make it work, or how you can make it work. I think is that we have to say that enough, we say enough to this neoliberal order. We don't want to pass it to our grandkids, and we say that we want a humane system, which actually I think, if we create a meritocratic world where we have not the freedom that we just claim we have, but we have the freedom with the choices, which actually in a meritocratic world you let the people that choose to make the progress and do make the progress, not to get their opportunity and stop them, and then they create a human society for themselves. So we have to strive, and we have to say that this is what we are for, to have us have the choices and have the freedom and have the meritocratic world where we are doing it and making it more humane than being in this disorderly system. Thank you. You are great. You are.